Alright everyone, I'm going to be shooting a video of the upgrade for my RV air conditioner to this Coleman Mach Bluetooth ceiling assembly. I've got it kind of sprawled out here on the bed. I have a Wolf Pup 16 BHS. This Bluetooth ceiling assembly will work for both 8,000 as well as 9,000 Coleman Mach air conditioners. If we look up here on the ceiling, you can see just the standard one that comes with the RV here. This has just a knob for controlling whether the fan or the cool is on. So if I turn this, let's see here. So there's low fan, there's another low fan setting, there's a high fan, there's a low cool, as well as a high cool there. I'll turn that back off. And then in terms of temperature, all we got here is just this dial. So there's really no way to control the thermostat here or really know what the temperature is. So what we're going to do here is remove this ceiling assembly. This is the new one back here. Let me show that really quick. So the new one is going to have this little digital panel here. The digital panel will show the current temperature. As you can see, there's an up and down arrow to turn the thermostat up or down. And then there's also the power button there. Now this is Bluetooth, like I said, so once this is set up, I can actually control this from my phone or mobile device. I'll be doing it from my phone. The great thing about this is that once this is installed and you actually have the cooling on, it will actually shut down the fan when the compressor shuts off and it gets up to or cools down to the temperature that you've set. The stock ceiling assembly here never shuts off unless you turn it to off. So when you have the cool on, regardless of whether it's high or it's low cool, when the compressor shuts off, the fan still runs, and it's very noisy, very loud. So by installing the Bluetooth ceiling assembly, once it gets up to or cools down to the temperature that it's supposed to, it will actually shut off both. So the first step here, the first thing we need to do is remove these vent covers. And I've already done that on this side because I wanted to show you here. So the grill will come off. So that is the grill that we're seeing right here. And then there's a filter inside there. And like I said, I've got this side off. Need to remove that side yet. But once it's off, there will be a screw here and a screw here on each side. And once that is taken off, this ceiling assembly will come off. So I'm going to go ahead and remove those and we'll see what the next step is. One thing I forgot to note that I should make clear, although it should be pretty obvious, make sure you're not connected up to shore power, because this is going to be pulling from that. This is not pulling from the 12-volt system. So I'm not connected to anything at the moment. I'm just running on battery, which is where the RV lights are coming from. So those are all 12 volt. This is not. And again, you can twist this, turn it on, try to turn it on. It's not going to come on because again, I'm not connected to shore power. I've also turned off the breaker just as an extra safety step. Again, probably not needed because I'm not connected to shore power, but you want to make sure that you are not while you're working on this. Okay, so I've removed the factory ceiling assembly. That is right there. All I did, like I said, was remove the 4 screws that were inside the grill here on each side. You also have to pop off the knobs, but those pull off very easily, or at least they did on mine. And we get up to this. So the next step is going to be removing this piece. So if you look, there are 4 additional screws. So we're going to be removing those next. Okay, so I've got these 4 screws removed. Really the only thing holding it up at the moment is this chute. So the chute here is where the air is going to, the cooled air will be coming down. This is stuck around this opening here with double-sided tape. So we're gonna have to work that loose. And once that's loose and free from this whole thing will drop down. So I'll work on that. And once I've got that unhooked, we'll go to the next step. Okay, so as you can see, I've got the chute out of there. It was very easy to pull out. The double-sided tape is still stuck to the chute. I'm leaving that for the moment, but by removing that, that frees up this. As you can see, this is being held up now by 2 wires. So this one is coming from the AC unit itself, and this is our, I believe that's 12-2 wire coming into this box. So what we need to do now is open up this box so that we can free up this wire here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and then disconnect this, and we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so I've disconnected the wiring harness there from the air conditioner itself. The wire coming into this ceiling assembly, a little bit harder to do. So let me show you that. So if we swoop around here, so there are actually two pieces to this box you can take off. Really, we're only interested in the little triangle piece. That is right here, just held on by two screws, one on each side. Once you remove that, you can kind of see where the 12-2 wire is coming into here. It looks like those are, or that wire is attached with these quick connect clips. I forget what these things are called. I've used them and I can't remember what they're called. But as you can see, it's just using those. So those are going to be, unless these just flip up, which maybe they do. If they don't flip up and the wire easily comes out, I'm going to probably just cut this off. That will free up the wire, and that wire is going to be used in the new control box that we've got right here. So this is the one that we'll be using for the new ceiling assembly. The hole right here is where that 12-2 wire will go in there, and then we'll connect that to the wiring that's inside there. So I'm going to mess around with this for just a second, see if I can actually get the wire out of this. And again, if I can't, I'm going to cut it inside here. I don't want to cut it up here because I still want the wire to be as long as possible. The box that we're going to be installing, I think it's up on this side. Yeah. So the box that we're going to be installing needs to go up inside here. Don't know how well you can see the screws, but there are screws. There's a screw up here, and then there's a screw over on this side, and that control box is actually going to sit inside there. So if we cut the wire too short, it won't actually reach up to that box. So I want to keep it as long as possible, and yeah, we'll go from there. So I'll work on this, and we'll see how that goes. All right, so I'm back here with a look at the wire. So those are very easy to remove. I guess I haven't actually used these before. The ones that I've used have been more permanent, and you've got to cut off the wiring. These, however, are just essentially clamp. So you stick the wire in there, you close this up. Let's see if I can do it one-handed here. Yep, you close that up, and essentially just clamps or pinches that shut, obviously making it somewhat permanent, but you can open it back up to remove the wiring. So I've done that. The only thing I have left to do here is loosen that right there so that I can actually pull the wire through. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we'll move on to the next step. All right, so I've got that disconnected, got the wire hanging there. That is the wiring harness that's coming from the AC right there. The next step is to remove this metal frame. That metal frame is held up there with 4 long bolts, 1 in each corner. However, because I do have a newer RV, I actually have the same one that was included with the new ceiling assembly. So I actually don't need to use this. If you happen to have a newer RV, you may not as well. Just verify that the bracket that came with the new ceiling assembly matches the one that is up there on the ceiling already. What you want to look for are the same holes. So you just put it up there, hold it up, and you can verify that the same holes are there in the same place. Again, this isn't something I need to do. But if yours is older, you may have to do that. So this is that. I am not going to be using that. If I had to use that, there are these 4 long bolts. You can see how long they are there, that you would have to put up into hold that bracket up there. I believe that's going up into somewhere into the, well, I guess maybe it's right there. Okay, so it's just going up into the ceiling. It's going through a piece of the AC unit here. So that's what we're looking at here is the AC unit. It's going up through a hole that is in there. But again, I've already got the correct piece here. It's already got the bolts in there, so I'm just going to leave it as is and not even have to worry about that. So on that note, the next step here then will be to wire up the new box. So let me do that, and I will show you what that looks like. I should also note that this kit comes with this new sleeve. So the sleeve you can see up there, I haven't even owned this RV for a year yet. It is a 22 model. I picked it up in July of 2021, so last year as of recording this video. We've only used the AC just a couple of times, so this is still relatively brand new. So I'm actually not going to replace that. What I will do is take off the double-sided tape. If I happen to rip this sleeve while taking it off, then I will replace it with this new one. But I'm just going to use this if the tape comes off just fine. But do know that it will include a new sleeve if you want to use that. But again, mine is fairly new, so I'm not going to. So my next step is to wire up that box. Okay, so here's a look inside of the new control box. There were just 2 screws, 1 on each end. Took that off. Here's the cover. Here is the wiring that I'm going to connect to the 12-2 wire that we've got up here in the ceiling. So we've got our black, our white, our ground. We've got our whites, our black, and our green for ground. So I'm going to just use, this kit does come with, let me show you here. This kit does come with these wire nuts, which I'm not going to use. I'm actually going to reuse these guys. So I'm just going to put the wire inside here and get that wired up, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so just to look at this, I am doing this by myself, so it may be a little advantageous to have someone helping you, at least for this part where if you want to take some slack off the electrical wire, that'd be helpful for getting this all wired up. I was able to do it by myself, so it is possible, but like I said, it might be helpful if you have someone at least just to hold this while you're wiring it up. But yeah, so I just used these clips that were here from the factory on the previous, the factory install. They work well. You can clip each side once you put the wire in there, and it really works well. So we've got to come around on this side here. I've got to get the clamp to hold the wire in there, and then once that's on there, I'm going to put the panel back on this. All right, so I've got the panel back on. I've got this little clip. I don't know for sure what exactly this thing is called, but it's this little clip piece that goes inside there to hold the wire, so the wire, can't move up and down, can't pull out of here. It's securely held in place. So the next step is going to be attaching these wires here to the proper locations on the back of this. We'll be using this here as a guide. And once this is set, what we'll do is we'll put this up inside there. Again, there are 2 holes, 1 on each end, and as I showed you previously, there are screws up there that this will go through and sit on, and then there are some spring clips that hold that into place. So I'm going to get this wired up, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so I have these wired up there based on the diagram here, so it'll tell you the red wire connects to R+, blue connects to B-, white connects to W, gray connects to GL, green connects to GH, yellow to Y, and then there are 2 freeze sensors. They connect to this freeze area back here. Now, I haven't plugged that in yet. As you can see, I've got that right here. I did want to mention that the little insulation here on mine was a little too long, so it was preventing it from actually plugging in fully. So I just kind of snipped that off a little bit, and I will go ahead and plug those in. Okay, so I've got the box up there. It is on the existing screws that were up there. It's a little tight in that this is very taut, so there's not much slack here. So it was a little bit of a work to kind of yank on this a little bit. As you can see, there's a bunch of caulk around the wire here. So I just yanked on it a little bit, was able to get it up there. I just have to attach the spring clips now, and that should hold it up there. All right, so I got the spring clips up in there. The control unit is up there, as sturdy as it's going to be. I'm grabbing it here, moving it around. It's not wobbly or anything, so it seems to be pretty secure. The next step is to take the wiring harness here from the rooftop unit, and I'm going to plug it into the new control panel here. Before doing all of this and getting this up there, make sure you double check that the wires are in the correct spot. I did it 3 times, so I triple checked to make sure, because I didn't want to have anything blow up here. So there it is. It looks like it goes in this direction. So we just have to work it around this cable here, which might be a little bit of a task. but yeah, I'll attach it there. Okay, so I have the wiring harness plugged in. I have the freeze sensor now inserted into the fins up here. You just want to stick it in between the bottom two tubes, between the bottom two tubes inside the fin. That is the freeze sensor, and that's where that goes. And I'll just tuck the remaining wires here up and out of the way. All right, so the next step is to remount this piece, or I guess this is a new piece actually. Again, that was the factory one. It's going to be to mount this piece back up to here. Again, there are 4 screws. I'm probably just going to reuse the factory ones. There are new ones that come in the bag, but I'll just be reusing the factory ones. One thing to keep in mind here is there is double-sided sticky tape around this. This is where the chute will go through and attach to that. Again, I'm using the factory chute. I need to remove the double-sided tape here. If for whatever reason in doing so, it's going to rip this chute, I'll simply remove this one and put up the one that came with my sealing assembly. So let me go ahead and remove the double-sided tape, and then we'll get this guy attached back up there. Okay, so I'm gonna have to go to plan B. The factory chute here, the double-sided sticky tape does not want to come off without actually, there we go, without actually ruining the cover here. So I'm gonna just hook up the one that came with a new sealing assembly. It's just held in there with 3 screws. So I'll put that up there and we'll be on our way. All right, so I've got the new chute up there. The only added work this is gonna do is once I feed this through there and attach it again with the double-sided sticky tape, I'm gonna have to trim the excess off that is hanging down. Not terribly much more work to do, but just something to keep in mind. If you can save the factory one, it will reduce a little bit of work there for you. I may even be able to, or could have, once I took this off, maybe heated this up with like a hair dryer and pulled this off, but my fear is it would heat this up a bit too much. So I just went ahead and used the new one. Like I said, a little bit more work and having to cut this off once it's through there, but not too much. So, all right, let's go ahead and get this guy mounted up there. All right, so I got this attached up there. Again, 4 screws, 1 in each corner. I've attached this. This will plug into the control unit as well. This hooks to the center screw inside this metal frame. The kit does come with the necessary screws to be able to screw that in. And what I'm going to do is feed this guy also through the hole here. If I can get my hand up there. There we go. And that will also attach to the control unit. So the last step I have to do before I get the control unit up there is, again, just take off the double-sided sticky tape here and then trim this guy a little bit shorter. So let me go ahead and do that, and then we'll start putting on the covering here. Okay, so I have the double-sided sticky tape removed. I got the new chute in there, pushed it all around on the sides. You may get something like this where it's kind of bunched up, but it's tight everywhere else, so it seems to me like that was bound to happen. And then I used a brand new sharp blade and my utility knife and just trimmed that guy all up. So it's back to where it needs to be now, and now we just can attach the faceplate here. Okay, so I've got the new faceplate here to the sealing assembly. As you can see, there are 2 connectors here. If we look up here, we have 2 connectors that are hanging out here that will plug into these. And then once that is in, I've got to take off the grates here. We've got, again, 4 screws, 1 in each corner. And I'll screw that on there, put the filters and the grates back on, and then we should be good to go. The only thing I'll have left to do is I'll have to hook this up to shore power. Thankfully, I do have a 50 amp connector outside my house, so I can hook up the trailer and we will test it out. Okay, so I have those connected up here. Got the grates off, going to stick it up there, and we will screw it on. All right, so here is the final install. I've got the cover on there. As you can see, obviously nothing is on because we're not hooked up to shore power yet. I've just put the filters in there. I haven't put the grills on yet. Just want to make sure this will work. So I've got to hook it up to shore power first. If it doesn't, it's going to be easier to take this back down just simply by removing these as opposed to doing those and the grill. All right, so the next step is to connect this to shore power, and we will test it out. All right, well, I have my RV hooked up to shore power. As you can hear, it is currently running. I set up the Bluetooth app here on my phone. Here's our current temperature. It's set to 63. That's what I dialed it down to, was 63, so it should be shutting off shortly. Just wanted to check that, one, the cool is working. It is. Got cold air coming out of here, so it comes out of both the ends, as well as these two vents here. And once we're at a point where the compressor shuts off, the entire unit should shut off. So that's what I'm testing, and we should see that happen. Overall, this was a fairly easy install. As you can see, I've got a lot of extra pieces that I didn't use because I was using a lot of the factory stuff. I would have continued to use the factory chute had I been able to easily take off the double-sided tape. But yeah, overall, it took me just about an hour, and I think the hour also included, me shooting some video in addition to doing the work. And I also had to run back out to grab something like my utility knife, and I also grabbed a screwdriver that I needed. But yeah, again, overall, very easy install. Highly recommend doing this if you want a unit that will shut off once it reaches temperature. It wasn't a bad price. It was just about $320. I got this off from Amazon. So if you're interested, go ahead and check that out. You might be able to find it a little bit cheaper here and there, but I've never seen it really fall below $300. I like the fact that I could get it from Amazon, so if something happens with it, something goes wrong, I could easily send it back to them as opposed to, like an RV parts store or something. So again, highly recommend it. If you're interested, check it out. Thanks for tuning in.